Hi friends, welcome back to my channel if you are returning. I hope you all had a safe and happy new year, and with it being the first few days of 2026, I wanted to share a few journal spread ideas to help inspire your own first few spreads, or if you just need some ideas for later in the year. I do want to preface this by saying that these aren't necessarily junk journal spread ideas, but more so introspective journal prompts to start your year right, and this can be done in really any style that suits you best. This first spread idea are your ins and outs for the year. This is a journal prompt that I like to do at the beginning of the year to set intentions of the goals and habits that I want to bring into the new year, as well as outdated habits that I want to leave in the past. I'm a huge believer in the power of writing things down as a way to affirm the intentions you set, and it acts as a tangible reminder maybe later in the year when it's not so fresh in your mind. For me personally, I know somewhere along the year I'll probably slip up on some of these intentions, so writing it down really does help in reminding me to pick it back up. I know some people may get discouraged if they fall off of their New Year's resolutions, so I think this is a gentler way of introducing habits that don't have so much gravity to them like a typical resolution might. For me personally, I would like to detach from using my phone so much. I have an embarrassingly high screen time, and when I analyzed what time of the day I used my phone the most, it was in the morning right when I wake up and at night right before I go to bed, where I am just scrolling on different social media platforms for hours on rotation. And the thing is I know it's not a healthy way to start or end the day, and is probably the source of my restless sleep. So I'm hoping by limiting my screen time as much as possible will help. Obviously, living in a digital world and as someone who creates content, I'm not able to fully detach. So hopefully limiting my phone usage during these specific parts of the days will still help. Another in that I want for 2026 is being more mindful of my consumption and shopping habits, especially when it comes to crafting or journaling supplies. I spent the last few weeks of 2025 just decluttering everything from old clothes that I wasn't wearing, makeup that had been in my collection for way too long, and journaling supplies that just didn't speak to me or my journaling style anymore, and I hadn't used it for nearly 6 months. I have always been the person to hold on to things just in case I'll need it in the future, but all of this decluttering really just made me realize how much I spent on this stuff, but it wasn't something that I really needed at all. For some of these things, I had never touched it after a few weeks of buying it, so I am really determined to use up what I have and be okay with it being used up and letting go of what I don't use. So this journal prompt is an example that is not so much a junk journal prompt, but there are ways of adding junk to it, like how I used an old Daiso bag for the headers of my spread, as well as some old felt that I had from a previous project to add some junk and texture to the spread. On to the second prompt, which is writing a letter to yourself. Similar to the previous spread, I like to write a letter to myself at the beginning of the year and open it at the end of the year. In the letter, I'll write all of the hopes and dreams and advice that beginning of the year me would like future me to reflect on, and you can write literally anything in this letter. Its main purpose is to act like a time capsule of where your mind was at the beginning of the year, what you hope to achieve or learn by the end of the year, or really just anything that you want future you to hear at the end of the year. And there are so many benefits to writing a letter to your future self. I would say the first benefit of writing to yourself is that it's an easy way to track your goals for the year. Even though the letter won't be opened until the end of the year, I do believe that by writing it down, you are subconsciously holding yourself accountable to those goals. And for me, I don't ask myself, did you read 12 books this year, which is one of my goals for the year, but rather I like to ask myself how I felt working towards this goal, or if there was a book that particularly stood out to me. And I mainly try to ask open-ended questions in my letters so that 1, I'm able to reflect on the year and how things felt rather than what was accomplished and also what wasn't accomplished. And 2, I don't ever want to set up the letter to point out where I might fall short in the year. I know that I'm human and there are going to be times where I don't fully stick to the goals and intentions that I set, and that's okay. I feel like by asking whether something was accomplished and wasn't accomplished, it sets a doubtful undertone to the letter, and that's not necessarily something that future me would want to read. The second benefit is that it can be a source of comfort and support for future you. When I'm writing my letter, I always like to end it with "I'm proud of you," whether or not I hit all of my goals, because at the end of the day, living through another year is an accomplishment in itself. More than likely, there are going to be rough times that I'll need to work through or find support through, periods of self-doubt, or times when I just need to let myself rest, which means not focusing on those goals, but rather allow myself to get to a point where I feel good again. And working through those times is an accomplishment worth acknowledging in itself. So again, this isn't necessarily a junk journal prompt per se, but I think a great prompt to add to your journal so that future you has something to look back on. There are still ways to add junk to embellish the page a little bit like I did here, but the focus is the letter. The next spread is a snapshot of self. I'm someone who often experiments with my style and particularly my hair, so I wanted to create a spread that captured how I looked and what my favorite things were at that very moment, and hope to do the same spread but at the end of the year to see how much things might have changed. It's a fun way to see how much you and your taste in things have changed throughout the year. For my spread, I added some albums that I have had on rotation this year, as well as some books that really stood out to me. I wanted to add TV shows, but I didn't have any more room and I don't watch movies, so that wasn't even going to be an option. I also think there are different ways to interpret this prompt. You can interpret it how I did, where I focused mainly on what my style was and the things I liked at that moment, but you can also look at it from a personal self-image point of view, where maybe you list out all of the traits you love about yourself, or maybe how the people in your life would perceive you from their lens, or maybe you have an interesting fact or skill about yourself that you are proud of. There are so many ways to interpret this prompt, and that is one of the reasons why I wanted to keep it somewhat vague, but the main purpose of the spread is to celebrate your own individuality. I think in this day and age, it's so easy to compare yourself to others and feel like you're not enough or feel like someone else has the life or aesthetic that you want, but you should celebrate yourself as you are, and hopefully that spread will inspire you to do so. I like to call this next spread a Museum of 2025, which is basically a gallery of the highlights of last year. It's kind of like an analog version of Instagram, I suppose. I'm not sure if this is on anyone else's social media feeds, but lately I feel like there is a huge push to live a more analog life, where people are picking up different hobbies that replaces the time spent scrolling on their phone, or looking for more analog mediums such as a physical book or film cameras that replaces the digital version of that hobby. I am definitely on board with this movement, and it's a reason why I love journaling so much ever since I discovered junk journaling. Before that, I really struggled with staying consistent with my journals, where I would only write in it if life was really tough. So all of my journal entries would essentially be me crashing out, which left me with a somewhat negative connotation towards journaling. But since I've embraced junk journaling and overall just different ways of approaching journaling, I have loved this hobby so much more and always look forward to when I'm able to journal. While I love using social media to share parts of my life, having a physical, tangible place like my journal feels completely different, where I can look back on memories and hold on to little moments that felt special to me, but I don't necessarily want to post it on social media. I love that we're moving towards a world that is kind of mixing the two so that analog things don't become a lost art form. With the spread, I really wanted it to look like a museum, so I printed and cut out these frames that I found on Canva to place the photos from my highlights, although this isn't necessary. The main point of the spread is to look back on all of the good things that happened last year for you, even if it's something small like going outside or spending a day with loved ones. It's all worth highlighting. And lastly, it cannot be a New Year journal spread without a vision board. I love doing vision boards because it is a visual reminder of what you're committing yourself to for the year, and as a visual person myself, the vision board resonates with me more, although I do love using lists to be a little bit more specific in my goals. Whenever I'm making my vision board, I like to focus on 3 or 4 categories, so this could be finance, health or wellness, friendships, travel, professional life, home, hobbies. The options are endless. I personally like to focus on 3 or 4 categories so that it's not overwhelming and I don't lose focus. You can use photos from Pinterest or Instagram like I did, or if you have any newspapers or magazines laying around, you can cut that up to create your vision board. The premise of this spread is to have a visual reminder of the goals and intentions that you're having for the year, in addition to all of the lists and letters that you wrote to yourself. So there are 5 journal prompts for you to start the new year right and get creative on what your goals and intentions are for the new year. I hope you all found this helpful, and if you like this video, please like like, and subscribe for more journaling content. Bye!